Hi and welcome to the section 3 of diving into Java Server Faces API video course named Java Server Faces Renderers. In this section, we are going to take a look to the headlines of the Java Server Faces renderers. But before we write a custom renderer, we have to understand several other aspects, such as component type, component family, renderer type, render kit, and so on and forth. Now we move on to the first video of this section, and we will discuss about the component type and family and renderer type. So let's see the agenda. Okay, so after a quick introduction, we will see why Java Server Faces needs these three coordinates: component type and family, and renderer type. Well, these three coordinates are strongly related to the Java Server Faces components and renderers. Beside the built-in components, Java Server Faces allows us to write our custom components. And when we do this, we usually need to write a custom renderer as well. But in order to accomplish this correctly, we need to have at least the basic knowledge about the component type, component family, and renderer type. So the component type coordinate is a string that uniquely identifies a component. Usually, this string represents the fully qualified name of the component class. Now, Java Server Faces uses the component type coordinate for identifying and creating components. The component type coordinate can be used as the argument of the createComponent method for creating instances of a certain component. We can specify the component type in different ways, but most commonly, starting with Java Server Faces 2.2, the component type can be specified via the Faces component annotation. You can see this practice in this piece of code. We can specify the component type value directly in the annotation as well, but this will limit the access to this information, since there is no public getComponentType method to override. In addition, notice that if more attributes are used, then we need to explicitly use the value attribute as well. Now, each component or component type belongs to a family which can consist of one or more components that are usually logically related. This family is a string as well, and it is accessible via the component family coordinate. Java Server Faces uses the component family coordinate to look up renderers. This way, Java Server Faces allows us to reuse a renderer for multiple component types that belongs to the same component family. Usually, the component family coordinate is specified as below. Notice the overridden getFamily method, which can be invoked to obtain the family of a component. This method is defined in UI component base class. Remember that the component type coordinate doesn't have such a method. Okay, so our foo family can contain components such as foo component, foo nice component, foo complex component, and so on. For example, Java Server Faces groups the input components under the JavaX Faces input family, as you can see here. Okay, now let's talk about the renderer type coordinate. Well, right from the start, you should know that the renderer type coordinate represents a piece of information that uniquely identifies a renderer. For now, it is enough to know that a renderer is responsible to generate the HTML that represents the component on screen. The most important part of this video is represented by the following affirmation. Java Server Faces selects a renderer for a component based on the component family and renderer type, not on the component type and renderer type. Now, a renderer type can be specified via the Faces renderer annotation, as you can see in this code. Further, a component needs to invoke the setRendererType method in order to link the corresponding renderer to this component. Notice that the renderer type is passed as an argument to the setRendererType method. When Java Server Faces needs to render this component, it will identify the corresponding renderer by calling the getRendererType method and getFamily method. These two coordinates should uniquely identify the right renderer. If you like, you can mix annotations with tags and involve a taglib.xml file as well. For example, the component type coordinate can be mapped in such a file via the component type tag as here, while the renderer type can be specified via the renderer type tag as here. Notice that there is no component family tag available in taglib.xml. The family is fetched via the getFamily method. Nevertheless, there is a component family tag that we can use in facesconfig.xml file if we choose to register a renderer like this. But this is another story. In this video, we have covered the main coordinates that Java Server Faces uses to create components and to link components with their corresponding renderers.